Hallo, grüß Gott, einen schönen Nachmittag hier aus Shanghai, guten Morgen nach Österreich. Ich freue mich sehr, dass Sie heute dabei sind bei unserem Webinar Trends und Chancen im chinesischen Gesundheitsmarkt. Wie auf der Website angegeben, wird das Webinar auf Englisch stattfinden. Das heißt, wenn wir dann zur Beschreibung des Marktes gehen, switch auch ich auf Englisch, damit auch unsere 3 Experten, die wir gefunden haben, verstehen, was wir sagen. So. Nachdem wir ja ein verhältnismäßig langes Webinar, wir haben mal fast 1,5 Stunden geplant, fangen wir gleich an. Ich möchte Ihnen nur kurz sagen, ich weiß nicht, wie viele von Ihnen, ich hoffe, einige haben schon mal an Webinaren der Außenwirtschaft Austria teilgenommen. Wie gesagt, wir benutzen GoToWebinar. Sie können schon während den Vorträgen aller Experten die Chat-Funktion benutzen und Fragen in die Chat-Funktion stellen. Die werden wir dann auch in der Q&A-Session nach den Vorträgen beantworten. Wir nehmen dieses Webinar auf. Das heißt, Ihnen wird im Anschluss, ein paar Tage nach dem Webinar, eine eventuell kürzte Version dieses Webinars, der Aufzeichnung, über einen YouTube-Link zur Verfügung gestellt, und Sie halten auch im Anschluss an das Webinar noch weiterführende Informationen, Teile der Präsentationen von unseren Experten von uns. Und natürlich jederzeit auch, sollten wir irgendwelche Themen nicht besprochen haben, auf Fragen nicht eingegangen sein, einfach bitte immer kurz eine E-Mail an shanghai@wko.at schicken, und dann werden wir versuchen, die gemeinsam mit den Experten zu beantworten. Warum machen wir das? Das Außenwirtschaftscenter Shanghai hier hat für Mainland China den Schwerpunkt, Branchenschwerpunkt Medizintechnik, Pharmaceuticals, MedTech und Life Science. Wir hatten natürlich geplant, in den letzten 1-2 Jahren einige Delegationsreisen nach China, um Ihnen vor Ort die Möglichkeit zu geben, mit potenziellen chinesischen Partnern zu sprechen. Aber die Covid-Situation, Österreich wird ab 1.8. ja alle Restriktionen, auch was die Quarantäne anbelangt, liften. Hier in China sind wir doch immer noch stark eingeschränkt. Bei Einreise ist immer noch derzeit eine mindestens 7-tägige Zentralquarantäne und 3 Tage Health Monitoring vorgeschrieben, und das wird sich so schnell, glaube ich, nicht ändern. Aber sobald sich das ändert, freuen wir uns, Sie und auch andere österreichische Firmen aus dieser Branche und anderen Sektoren vor Ort begrüßen zu dürfen und mit Ihnen gemeinsam die Hotspots zu besuchen. So, und jetzt, wenn ich ein paar Informationen bringe zum chinesischen Markt, zur Marktsituation, switche auch ich schon auf Englisch, wie gesagt, damit unsere 3 chinesischen Experten da auch schon mithören können und mich eventuell korrigieren, wenn ich was Falsches sage. So, China. One sentence we always use is, it's a big market. It's the biggest market for so many different industries. And like many other developing countries or countries in development, there are a few facts which just give a push for the development of the medical industry, the medtech, the life science, and the pharmaceutical industry. One is obviously the age. The Chinese population is aging rapidly. Estimates say now at the moment we have about already 13.5% of the population is older than 65 years. In 2030 it might be 17%, and in 2045 estimates say it might be almost 21%. That means, by official definition, in the year 2045, China will be a super aged society. And I guess all of you know what this means. The demands for healthcare, for equipment, for medicines, for pharmaceuticals will be astonishing. In addition, China is a country with not many doctors. I looked at some statistics about in China you have 2.0 doctors per 1,000 inhabitants. In Western European countries it's about 4.0, so you have there a lack, and there is as well an uneven distribution how the healthcare facilities are used. So Chinese patients prefer to go to expert hospitals. They don't go to a family doctor or to a general hospital. They prefer to go to the best one to get a treatment. So this means there's a lot of pressure on the healthcare sector. And as well, the expenditure of China is not that high. Then we have, in addition, a shrinking working age population, means there's less funding for the healthcare system. And on the bright side, China over the last decades has managed to lift millions and millions of people out of poverty. So the demand for adequate healthcare, for a healthy lifestyle, for medical treatment is becoming bigger and bigger. So there's a big market on the one hand for private care, for private hospitals. But what we have seen as well, and COVID kind of intensified this, there is still underdevelopment in a lot of areas, like, for example, diagnostics and primary care capabilities. Chinese patients have to fund about 30% of their healthcare expenditure out of their own pockets. So, and like in Europe and many other countries, COVID obviously accelerated the digitalization of the healthcare system. You have here a screenshot of the very famous super app WeChat. It's their good doctor, it's their medical system. So even here, prescriptions for medicines were done online. You could have doctor's appointments online. You could get sick leave online. So China is there paving the way. And those of you who follow China will as well have figured out that China is one of the leading nations, if not the leading nations, when you look at artificial intelligence due to the sheer amount of data they have. So artificial intelligence is highly used in China in the medical sector. In addition, China is the second, not only the second largest economy globally, it has the second largest medical equipment market in the world, and it's been growing rapidly. And in 2021, the Chinese healthcare industry reached a volume of almost 1.5 trillion euros. Most of it was in pharmaceuticals and biotechnology, but as well medical diagnostic devices had a very high value. And China is developing. And China, as a country which is still guided by 5-year plans, by central planning, there is just the beginning of this year, there has been a new 5-year plan issued called the 5-year plan for the development of the pharmaceutical industry. And there are the main targets, the main directions the Chinese industry will take and shall take. So it's reaffirmed that innovation is key. So there will be a lot more funding in everything: development of medical equipment, development of pharmaceuticals, drugs, healthcare. So watch out, there will be a lot coming. And why is this important for you? Because the second most important target is to promoting internationalization of the pharmaceutical and the healthcare industry. So meaning there is more possibility for you to cooperate with Chinese partners, with Chinese companies, get your products on the market, or develop products together with Chinese partners. China wants to as well make their supply chain more secure, same like all over the world. COVID showed us this is necessary. And the talents will be developed and IT will be a lot more implemented. China, in a lot of perspectives in this industry, is still picking up with Western nations, but there are quite some fields where China is very well advanced already. There is a lot going on in the field of pharmaceutical and biotechnology, cell therapy, antibody drugs, synthetic biology, RNA editing, etc. And there are quite some Chinese companies, well established or newer ones, who are doing a lot of R&D, and they develop very well. And and one thing which is very big as well is that AI and robotics have been as well developed for the medical use in China. Medical technology and device industry, the Chinese sector accounts for almost 20% of the global market. So China has been developing their own technology. And one thing which was interesting when I prepared for this webinar, China has, the Chinese official healthcare system has started with a bulk buying process years ago. So medicine, drugs, but as well equipment will be bought in bulk, meaning companies make offers, and that obviously has a very big impact on the price. So the price goes down, but you can work on volume. But why do I mention this? Because apparently the prices are going down so much that a lot of Chinese companies consider as well, we want to innovate further so that we can export our products abroad. And let's see, China has over the last 2.5 years invested heavily in everything which was in connection with COVID. Might it be the test kits? A lot of them ended up as well in Europe. We started with the mask policy, but as well now with China figures out they have to have a better system, healthcare for their people. They demand it. And yes, the last one, what I mentioned is you saw on the slide beforehand, the digitalization. China is very well aware of what has to be done in order to make medical care, health accessible for their people. So a lot of those companies who develop products, systems, they will be as well very interested in working together with foreign companies. Here you have a list of topics, fields where there's a lot of R&D happening and investment being poured into those fields in China. Money comes from Chinese investors, but very much as well from foreign investors. So those are the fields which we hope or we are sure should be of interest to you. And why do I give you this background? To show why do we do this webinar today? We thought we want to give you an update what's happening here on the ground. But as always, we don't know in detail all the questions, so that's why we managed to get 3 experts for you. That's why our webinar today is comparatively long, because we talked to a few experts. And why did we focus on those 3 and their topics, which I'll introduce to you in a second, is because we spoke to them and thought, okay, where is there potential for cooperation? Where do Chinese partners would be interested in having foreign companies, foreign research institutes involved, and as well in which industries there's so much happening in China that those companies might go out. So I will introduce to you now all the 3 speakers, and then you will have one presentation after another. I have to point out 2 things. First, it will be Mr. James Chen. He graduated as an engineer and he worked in very many different international companies. He has focused on research and development in very many different industries. And in 2016, he joined the jury group. And from that point on, he began to engage in research and development in intelligent biopharmaceutical equipment and process. He then founded his own company in 2018. Innovel Intelligent Technology, and in 2019 they released the world's first intelligent product system for immune cell. He will present to you a novel approach of production of customized cell pharma by using their intelligent equipment. And I have to say, Mr. Chen is very busy, so unfortunately he will leave us after his presentation, so he will not be there for the Q&A session. But if you have questions to him, if you post them in the chat or send them to us, we will pass them on to him. The second expert is Dr. Tian Hong Shu. He has, it's a long list, a PhD in biomedicine and clinical medicine from the US, Baylor College, as well from Fudan University in China. He's as well engaged in investment, so he's a partner in VI Ventures, and he has a combined experience of more than 20 years. On the one hand, investing, venture capital, but as well research in clinical field and life science. And there he was working in the US and in China. And he has as well been an expert for the UNIDO. And he found as well his own company, the Base Therapeutics Group. They work on research and application of cellular therapy. From him, you will hear an overview of the state of research and how to in China, and how you can commercialize those results, and he, above all, on cell therapy. He, unfortunately, due to technical problems, you will not see his camera, but you will hear his expert presentation, and you will see his PowerPoint. Last but not least is Dr. Dan Chang. He has an MD from Peking Union Medical College, and he has as well a degree master's from Harvard, and he was as well at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. And he was the first chairman of the Greater China region of Quintiles Transnational Corp, the world's largest multinational CRO. He founded Klein Choice Pharmaceuticals, and they provide a full range of clinical development services. And he will give us an overview of clinical trials in China, including the regulations, new chemical drugs, etc. And this is, I think, a very interesting topic because we get very often inquiries from Austrian companies, research institutes, how can you work together with Chinese partners in the field of clinical trials? So that was all from my part, so introducing your speakers. So now I would kindly ask Mr. Chen to take over the control of the PowerPoint and show us his camera. Thank you very much.
Okay, sure. Thanks for your time. So my topic today is distributed intelligent production of the personalized cell pharma. So, okay, let me control the page. Okay, so as we all know, so in the past several years, we have lots of applications of the cell therapies in different directions, especially from the tumors, like the CAR-T and the TIL and then the TCR-T applications. So we already have very good results for the blood cancer and some solid tumor cancers. Okay, so in traditional cell pharma production and research, we have several limitations. First is the volume, right? So before we just use the humans for the process, like in our own lab, the right picture. And secondly, the price is very high. In China, so it's still over 1 million RMB. So maybe just the 5% of the population can afford so high price. And then the third one is that before we have to do very long transportation between different cities, and we cannot do the distributed manufacturing. So we still have lots of limitations of the production. We have to transport in and transport out. So that also brings several issues. First is the cost, and second is safety, right? And last one, I think the most important one is the effectiveness of the medicine. Okay, so we have to find some way to have better cost, much quicker reaction, much higher quality, and most important of all is the safety of the medicine for everybody. Okay, so we created a new model of the cell pharma production. We implemented the way of leader to leader approach, and we have 5 ways for our products on the system. So first is automatic. We have the operation automation and also the information automation. The second is aseptic, and all of the full process is in air-approved chambers. So every step by the operation is by the robots, no only human interventions. And third one is adaptive. We have a very strong software system in the machine. So over 1.5 million lines of the code. So we can do different kinds of medicines, and the user can do very smooth and easy creation of the process. The fifth is the agile one. So we have an information system, data information system in the machine. Now the fifth one is the affordable. So our target is to optimize the cost and the final price to the cost to the patient's final cost to the patients is around 200 to 300,000 RMB. So maybe just 1/5 or 1/4 of the current price. So as we mentioned, we have several characteristics of the machine. First is automation. Okay, so uh, first is for process automation. So first one is the all the operations are done by the robots and the specific modules and by vision systems. And the second automation is by multiple servers, all the information gathering, collection, analysis are by the machines. So let's have a first look at the operation automation. So you can see in the system. So we have 6 robots in the system. And by the way, I just want to mention, so we use a lot of the European components. So we have 3 sterile robots from Switzerland and over 20 motors from Germany. So we are using lots of the components from Europe. And so first, the aspect of the machine is operation automation. So the system can run 24/7 and can replace around 30 to 40 operators. And because the machine is very small, just 9 square meters, so the machine can be installed in hospitals. So it can be very easily used in in-process clinical research and application service and support. And by the robotic operations, we have done by the big customers of our company like Wuxi Biologics and Zhengda Biologics. So we already get a very consistent products delivery. First, the consistency is volume, and second is safety, and third is how to say the effectiveness of the medicine. And second part of automation is data automation. So we can have very centralized data center, and by machines installed in different places, we can gather the information back and do um, large volume patients data optimization and process optimization. Second one is the GMP standards. So this whole system is fully closed and sterile. So as we all know before, the dangers of from human beings, right? So we need to have very large scale of facility operation, and we have a lot of the open loop risks and the materials transfer and collections. All of these are risks, and also bring very high cost. So in our system, we how to say integrate all the process steps into one box. The box is totally 9 square meters. So we have multiple workshops inside. All the things are in airproof isolators. So airproof, all the things are done in very strict stainless steel structure. And we have several workstations for the input and output, just as the isolators from outside the environment, the fluid chambers, the incubation chambers. Okay. So we have 8 chambers in the system, and every chamber is independent from each other. So by this kind of structure, we can do all the operation in airproof environment, and the order of the magnitude of the clean area before for the same volume of products, we need to have close to 1,000 square meters of space, but right now it's just within 50 square meters. And also the order of magnitude reduction of maintenance, right? Because in every shift, our customer just use 2 operators. And the last one is the operations in fully closed and sterile isolators, and everything is very safe. Okay. The first thing is the system is closed, and we'll also installed an how to say in-process sterilization system. So for each chamber, we have an independent environment control and sterilization module. So as you can see in a flow chart on the right part of the page, so for each batch, actually each patient's operation. So first, the environment will be sterilized by VHP, and VHP is exhausted, and then we do the collection stuff with our consumables and do the operation of the samples, and then we close the operation samples containers, and then we do the how to say the VHP sterilization again, and then we transfer the products out. And also in a system, so we have in-process environment monitoring. So everything is real time. So we cover the very basics, the how to say the GMP requirements of the environment control, like the grain density and bacterial sampling. And we also do the offline sample transportation service. So we can get the number by the system itself, or we can transfer the products out for the offline how to say tests. And the third characteristic, the third feature of our system is adaptive production. And our process is totally for personalized production. So we did research of lots of the different kinds of the cell therapies for CAR T, CD, lighting, BCMA, Claudin 1802, those kind of stuff. Also TIL, SCTIL, and TCRT, those kind of stuff. So we do lots of the abstractions of the full process of the operation. So for typical operation, we have a software module in our software system, like a centrifuge, fluid operation, fluid speed, those kind of stuff. And by the very basic modules of the software, we do very easy process editing. So before some semi-automatic equipment, so the process is how to say is fixed by the vendors. But our system, so the customers can edit the process by themselves very easily. So we provide very flexible full process editing. So several features we want to get. So first, quick template compiling and reviews of existing template, and edit and modify personalized process. And because the pharma therapy is very personalized, and sometimes the cells in process are not so predictable, so we can do in-process modification of the process by authorization. Okay. Okay, and to do in-process how to say the analysis. So we also embed the test and the analysis equipment in our system, like cytometer, counter, image units, and those kind of stuff. And we did lots of software at this part to do in-process intelligent analysis of the whole process. And yes, as we just mentioned, after our inline process, the machine can adjust the sum of the process parameters by themselves. And sometimes if the deviation is very serious, and we will inform the operators, and our operators will get in and do the manual interventions. Okay, and in the system, so we provide also very long time culture containers, also by our company, so we can support the healthy cells culture over 20 days in our system. So that means we can do even more adjustments to the cells in the process. Okay, the first part is agile. So we embedded the shop level software into the machine. Okay. So I just listed several of our modules. Actually, we have 12 major software modules in the machine. So like you can see on the page right now. So first thing is the process edit, and the second is the bench management, and the third is the production load analysis and the planning. And fourth is the warehouse management, because we have over 600 operation sites in the machine. So we have a very sophisticated WS system in the machine. And first is the environment control, and the sixth, yes, I cannot see that very clearly. Maybe in the personnel management. So in the whole process, we just limit the human interactions, like materials in and the products out. But we want to keep the continuous communication between people and machine. So at each milestone of the process, the machine will inform the operators and the managers automatically, like cell qualities, like the cell densities, and some of the results of the cytometers of the effectiveness of the products. Okay, in the process and after the process, we will provide the batch records for a CD lighting CAR-T process. One document for one patient will be over 900 pages. So all the documents is combined by our data server fully automatically. Okay, so fully automatically. And in the report, we have several very basic parts, and by each different customer's requirements, we will do different formats. And it's very basic information. So personnel log on, log out, for process operation reports, for process measurements records, for process material reports, and for process environment reports. And in the appendix sections, we will also list the warnings and errors during each process, if it happens. Last one is the cost affordability, because right now the cell pharma is still very expensive, and it can just serve for a limited number of personnel. So we want to optimize the cost for everybody. So we do this by different parts. First, we have much smaller facilities. Okay, so our facility is just 1/20 of the previous manual ways. And second is how to say, the operation cost, because for 1,000 square meters facility, it means millions of RMB every year. But right now it's just 50 square meters. So the electricity cost and the air conditioning cost will be 1/20 of the cost. And also the labor's cost. For each shift of our machine, just the two people needed. But for a traditional manual way, it means 30 to 40 operators at the lab. And the last one is the contamination cost in the process. So until now, we don't have any record of contamination in our system. But in traditional way, you usually have 3% of the products contaminated. That means if we manufacture over 100 patients per year, that means over a million of R&D waste every year. Okay. So our mindset is very straightforward, as in the semiconductor and automobile industries. We can do the cost effectively and the optimization by scale. So we also do our system by this kind of ideology. We can manufacture over 100, even to 200 patients in one system per month. So we can have 10 times manufacturing scalabilities and conditional many ways. So we can have much more larger scale, and much better quality and cost effectively. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Thanks for your time. That's my slides. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chen, for giving us this presentation, even though your tight schedule, where you are running from one meeting to another. May I just ask you one question out of curiosity? Have you sold your equipment already to customers outside of China?
Not really. So right now I'm at my customer site.
Okay.
So after this meeting, I will get in. But right now, all our systems are still in China. But we have some plan for North America next year and Singapore next year. But for Europe, we want to have some opportunities. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, because I thought this would be a question we might get later on from our Austrian participants. Thank you so much, Mr. Chen, and good luck with your clients meeting now, right?
Okay, thank you. Vielen Dank.
Thank you. So now, if I might ask Mr. Dr. Shu to join us. I know apparently his camera is not working, but you will see his presentation and we will hear his voice. Hello, Dr. Shu.
Okay, thank you. And I'm Tian Hong Shu, and I'm going to introduce you the cell therapy in China, the current overview and the trends. And I'm the CEO of Base Therapeutics. Yeah, okay. As maybe some of you already know that cell therapy is basically including immunocell therapy and stem cell therapies. Currently in China, all two groups of cell therapies are quite popular. As you know, for the immunocell therapy and the stem cell therapy, currently all different and many companies in China are working on these two groups of cell therapies. And for the immunocell therapy, including CAR-T and the TCR-T, TIL, and NK cell therapies, and also currently emerging like macrophage cell therapies, and also called DC cell therapies. And for the stem cell therapies, mainly include iPSC stem cell and ESC stem cell, and also mesenchymal stem cells. Yeah. So currently in the stem cell-based therapies, especially in recent years, there are a lot of China companies, startups or mature companies entering into stem cell therapies, this field. And most popular are mesenchymal stem cell, which currently I believe there are already 4 or 5 INDs approved in China with mesenchymal stem cells. And also iPS stem cells, and it's quite popular this year and the last year. And mainly because many companies follow the one company called Phase Therapeutics in the United States. So iPS stem cell became a hot spot recently. And also for we can see the chart, there are already several mesenchymal stem cells already in the clinical trial studies. And so far, I believe there are no iPS stem cells successfully get the IND approval, not yet, but I believe they are soon. And also for the ESC stem cells, and several companies working on it. And so for the stem cell therapies, currently they are focusing on all kinds of different indications, including nervous system and the GI system, and also immune system, and also pediatrics and cardiovascular disease. Yeah, actually for the iPS stem cells, and they still need some cautions. This is a recent case report by one hospital in China, and unknown companies and working on using iPS stem cells to derive the beta cells to treat type 2 diabetes. But during the treatment, unfortunately, the patient got the iPS-derived malignant teratomas, and so the patient to seek the treatment. So this is a case report. So this give us some alarm on the iPS stem cell need to special cautions, and so that's why currently for the stem cell therapies, they're mainly the mesenchymal stem cell is relatively safe, and already 4 companies already get IND approval and entering into clinical trials. But for the iPS, so far there are no companies get IND approval yet. Yeah, for immunocell therapies, and mainly including this CAR-T, TCR-T, and CAR-NK, and TIL. And I would like to, I would not go to the details of these these different immune cell therapies, but obviously the most popular and program are CAR-T cell therapies. And in China, there are at least dozens of companies working on CAR-T, and there are also nearly 100 clinical trials for the CAR-T cell therapies, and many are CD19 CAR-T and some are BCMA CAR-T. These are most popular 2 targets. And also currently there are some other CAR-T programs are being developed and getting into the clinical trial studies. Also for TCR-T, and there are several companies working on TCR-T. And for the NK cell therapies, since last year in China, so far there are at least dozens of companies began to working on the CAR-NK or NK cell therapies. And actually, including our company, Base Therapeutics, we're working on gene editing NK cell therapies. And also for TIL, in China, there are around 6 or 7 companies working on TIL cell therapies, and 2 of them already get IND approval. And China has a leading position in clinical trials for CAR-T cell therapies, and so far there are nearly 100, maybe more than 100 CAR-T clinical trials in China, and most of them are around the CD19 and the BCMA. But currently they are become more diverse and to target other targets, including some solid tumor targets like HER2 and MESO. And so I believe, because I also working as a partner of a venture capital firm, so I believe that for the CAR-T therapy, especially for the CD19 and BCMA CAR-T, the market is already overcrowded. So there's some problems that for the clinical trials it's difficult to recruit patients because the B-cell malignancy already there are no enough patients for the B-cell malignancy patients to meet the requirement by the different clinical trials is running. And so the currently the most challenge is to how to use a CAR-T to treat the solid tumors. I believe many CAR-T companies are trying to working on it, and hopefully they can see some progress. And this is several companies in China, their CAR-T program already get approved or in the later stage of clinical trials, like Fosun and Kite as a joint program, joint ventures called Fuxing Kaite, and they their CD19 CAR T already approved in China last year, and also WuXi Pharma and Juno, they set up a joint venture in China to working on CD19. Both these companies, the CD19 CAR T already approved in China and began marketing the drugs. And also for the Legend Bio, and they developed BCMA CAR T, and their drug already approved in the US and in Europe, and in China is in later stage clinical trial. And there are several other companies and working on the some CD19 BCMA CAR T, and in the later stage clinical trials too. And so obviously for the CD19, for the B-cell malignancy for the CD19 CAR T, the market is already crowded. And so I don't think that a new startup like want to still enter into the CD19 CAR T, this market. So unless you have some unique technology advantage. And also because, as said, the CAR T is quite mature. And so currently, some companies in China, and I believe also in the US and Europe, and they began to engineer CAR T to develop some, to use some innovative bioengineering methods to develop a new CAR T, right? Some including dual CAR T, and also to use a bioengineering approach to add a suicide switch or gating, just to try to mitigate the CAR-mediated toxicity, and also to engineer the CAR T to express some like IL-7, IL-12, IL-15, and this to try to enhance their anti-tumor toxicities, and also use to knock out PD-1, like the PD-1 knockout CAR T, and this is all kind of bioengineering approaches to make the CAR T stronger, right? To make the CAR T better, and this is currently what I think the new companies entering, if they still want to enter CAR T market, they have to develop some unique bioengineering approaches to make their CAR T program more looks much. It's a better drugs. And currently there are several, I think as far as I know, there are 6 or 7 companies in China working on TIL, and including the list, this 7 company list here. And 2 of them, Great Biotechnology and GenCell, their TIL program already get IND approved and into the clinical trial stage. And the other companies are still in the preclinical studies or working on some IIT clinical studies. And so for the TIL, for these 2 proofs, the first 2 programs which enter into the clinical trial using traditional TIL, and the second generation of TIL, they try to use a bioengineering approaches to engineer TILs. And also for TCR-T, there's 3 companies working on TCR-T, and I believe there are a few others working on TCR-T companies. The most advanced program is the developer the Xiangxue Ziyao. Their first TCR-T program already get IND approved, and recently, I think this month, they already entered into the phase 2 clinical study, which is pivotal studies. This is the NY-ESO-1 TCR-T program, and the second one is the SCG cell therapy. They had I think they headquartered in Singapore and had office in Guangzhou, China, and their TCR-T program is to treat the HBV-related hepatocellular carcinoma, and they also enter into the get IND approved. And the third one is the TCR Cure, the company based in Beijing, and they recently had 1 program approved in China, approved IND in China, and to treat HPV positive cervical cancer. And yeah, maybe I briefly introduce for the country the most for the CAR-T program, and I believe also for the TIL program, the most challenge for the CAR-T is their price is very expensive. Like in China, currently 2 CAR-T, CD19 CAR-T already in the marketing, and their price is around I think is around 120 1 million, more than 1 million US, more than 1 million RMB. So it's around 200K or 250K US dollars. It's quite expensive in China, and although it's cheaper than the US, right? But it's quite expensive in China. So this is a big challenge for the CAR-T program when they marketing their drugs. So that's why most currently the mandate companies began to working on the universal cell therapy like NK cell therapies or gamma delta T cell therapies. So the universal cell therapy is we can bring the price down, bring the cost down. Okay, and now there's NK cell therapies, right? And NK cell therapies is began to emerging as a very promising area for clinical research and also clinical trials, mainly because NK cell therapies is it's a universal cell therapies, and it's a universal cell therapy. So there's maybe I briefly introduce our company, Base Therapeutics, and for the Base Therapy, we can go to the next slide here. For the Base Therapeutics, we are working on using the the country. Sorry, yeah. Okay, there's several companies like in the US and in China, and working on NK cell therapies. And in the US, we know that Ankata Fit Therapeutics and several others working on NK cell therapies. And in China, there are currently, I think, nearly 10 companies working on the NK cell therapy. Base Therapy is one of them. And Base Therapeutics using the innovative gene editing and base editing technology, especially for the base editing technology. That's why the company called Base Therapeutics, and to editing NK cells to make the NK cell to much more potency to treat tumors. For our company, our core value is first we have two innovative gene editing tools. One is a Cas embedding base editor, or CEBE, which has a very high editing efficiency and has no off-target editing. If someone knows that for the gene editing technology, the major problem is the gene editing. Most of the gene editing technology can cause off-target. So for our CEBE base editing technology, it has no off-target editing. And also, Base Therapeutics have developed prime editors, which has the most editing efficiency currently in the world. And with this gene editing technology, especially with the CEBE base editors, we developed the super NK cell using the base editor to edit NK cells, and develop the super NK cells from different sources, from PBMC derived NK and from iPS derived NK cells. So unlike several other NK cell companies like Fate Therapeutics and Kata Therapeutics and MD Anderson working on Takeda, this company are all working on CAR NK cells. And but for Base Therapeutics, we use gene editing technology to edit NK cells. And so we also have a very high transfection and editing efficiencies, up to 19% editing efficiency. and we also have a very mature and a very high potent NK expansion technology platform, which can expand millionfold. And as said, we use our CEB base editing technology, which cause no off-target edit. Yeah, this is compare from the PBMC derived NK and IPS derived NK. I think yeah, we can skip that one. And for our company, the pipeline including the NK510, which is using our base editing to knock out one inhibitory signal genes. And we are currently entering into the IIT clinical study this month, and we expect to file IND in the US and in China next year, middle next year. And also our second program, NK520, this program we use our gene base editing technology to knock out 2 genes, and 2 inhibitory receptor genes. And so in short, for base therapeutics, we have very efficient transfection and gene editing efficiency, and a very potent NK expansion technology platform, and also with our CEB base editing technologies, and we can edit in the NK cell without, we do not need to worry about the off-target effects. So, yeah, this is our company's introduction. And next slide. Yeah, okay, I think this is the end of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shu, and thank you as well for staying with us with the technical problems. No, it's not problems for all the participants in Austria. Sometimes here, connecting the internet in China with Austria and other countries with certain programs and apps, it's a bit a challenge. We are all working on that. Thank you so much, Dr. Shu, and we already received a few questions. We keep them for the Q&A session, but one I can answer already now. That was there. One question, will we share the contacts of the experts? Yes, you will get their contact details, and the questions which are not related directly to the medical technology, pharmaceutical, like entering the Chinese market, etc., we will answer them then individually. So now I'm very happy that we're going to have Dr. Chang, and he will probably give already a few answers to some of the questions one person posed, because it was about clinical trials. How can either European companies do it in China, or are Chinese companies interested in doing them in Europe? Thank you very much, Dr. Chang. The screen is yours.
Thank you. Very pleased to have a chance to go online and meet with you guys. So let's start. In China, in the last few years, has dramatic change in regulatory policies, in particular GCP policies. From 2015, where China started the new round of revolutionary approach for regulatory system, 2017, China became a regulatory member of ICH, and 2018, China began to accept in large quantity of imported innovative product. Next slide. Let's see. Yeah, and 2019, China changed the new law for drug registration. 2020, China began to accept the new patent law, which allow the patent linkage, patent compensation. And this year, China began to embrace more changes to speed up the clinical trial and approval process. So here it's just a list of the policies related to clinical trials. You can see China issued in large quantity in such a short period of time of new policies. this is the ICH guideline related exclusively in red now for the clinical trial and also CMC and also safety. But all these clinical guidelines in each series, China began to accept and embrace. Next slide. This additional guideline from ICH related to clinical trial, which in particular for pharmacovigilance. So currently China is in line with ICH guideline for handling a safety event. And China also began to accept GCP second version from ICH from July 1st, 2020. So you can expect the clinical trial quality now in China is regulated like any other ICH countries. So China also involved directly with the drafting of new GCP guideline is a version 3. The lady in the picture, she is representing AMPA, sit on this committee. She's the head of, it's Dr. Yang, she's the head of drug review group in Center for Drug Evaluation for Oncology. Let's see, we should have more slides ongoing. Well, yes, and here is a work in progress for the newer version of GCP in ICH. Now you can see what's happening in China right now. In last year, based on the AMPA statistics, China increased dramatically of clinical trial for biologics. You can see in last 3 years, it's been increased steadily. And for traditional Chinese medicine trial, it's in very small percentage. And by and large, only 1/5 of the trial for global trials from overseas international firm. Domestic firm control majority of clinical trial percentage. This is all happening in last year in China. And here you can see the majority of the trial right now in China for new drug trials. For generic bioequivalent trial, it's reduced in large quantity. And you can also see dynamically the biologic trials has increased steadily. And also traditional Chinese medicine trial and reduced significantly. Here is top 10 chemical clinical trials in last year. Here there's some familiar name on the slides, and also here you can see the COVID-19 trials in the biological trial become a dominant play in China right now. So this gives a snapshot what's going on in China. Here is the target clinical trials for PD-1, PD-L1. This is the most popular trial right now. And so EGFR trials, GLP-1, GLP-1R trials also increased dramatically. But you can notice that most of the trials centered on this popular mechanism of actions in China currently. Here give you a different snapshot on the different type of product trials in China. So specifically, currently the trials is more for domestic trial. The imported trial, it's for imported product is in small percentage. And here is the different snapshot for you to see the for biologics trials in China. Here is the preventive biologic trials in China. By the way, all this information was published, announced by the Center for Drug Evaluation of Chinese NMPA. By and large, oncology trials is #1 in China, and the second largest one is anti-infectious trial, and then dermatology and ENT trials. So this the most top 3 popular trials in China currently. Here you can see for the chemical products, oncology trial increase dramatically. This is for biologic trials. Still, oncology trial also very fast. This is the domestic trial. It's take a majority of shares. Multi-region clinical trial only about 16% in China. For phase 1 trials, this is the #1, and this is the average enrollment in China for each phase of the trials. Here give you a different view for the indication distribution of the trial in China. This is what happened in orphan indications in China. You can see the neurological CNS trial and ophthalmology trial, and also respiratory disease trials. These are there's a lot of trials related to that, hematology trials. Here I give you a distribution of startup time in China for the trial. Normally, in terms of the IND application, then for the first patient in, the period is about 6 months in China. Here, it's give you a different therapeutic area and different class of product in terms of clinical phases in China. By and large, most of the trials, completed trials, are still in early phase. Here we give you calendar days, how much spent on average in China for different trials. What about qualities in China? By and large, China is doing very well for multi-country global trials. FDA inspection in China was by and large was very good, and there's one mega trial, 45,000 patients enrolled in China alone in 500 sites, using OS as the primary endpoint. This single China trial got US NDA applications, and so many oncology trials support global submissions right now. But we also found some unsuccessful cases. One particular global trial involving China where 8 sites in Shanghai was disqualified, primarily because this 8 sites sharing the EDC accounts among different PIs. So that's got a problem. Because of that, this NDA filing in US were delayed by 9 months. But overall, China did very well for a global trial, but domestic trial quality was not great like a global trial. Even China joined the ICH, but there's a lot of a minor difference between US and China. Because of time limitation, I will not go one by one. I just want to share with you, both on IND, NDA, and conduct clinical trials. There's a lot of differences also. I will share these slides with the audience per your request, so you can review, and so hopefully you could get more information out of it. There's in terms of the difference between US and China, you can see clearly from scientific committee, central lab, biomarker test, safety handling, and also access to patient language requirements. The last piece I want to share with you that if you come to China, we're ready to help. I co-founded clinical CRO called Clean Choice. We have about 3,200 people globally. We have offices in UK, in US, in Japan, Canada, many other places in the world. And we are doing a lot of international trials and handling IND, NDAs, both in China, in US, and in EU, EMA. So we could help you guys to achieve your objective, both in China and globally. Right. And we did 46 NDA applications in past 5 years in US FDA. We achieved 35 approvals so far. And in China, we spread out our operations in almost all major cities. And we did a lot of trials in last year, in particular in oncology and also in dermatology and cardiovascular, all these major therapeutic areas. And those are the 48 NDAs we filed in US FDA. And those are the trials we did on global basis also. Once again, oncology and hematology is a larger therapeutic area than diabetes and metabolic diseases. This is to give you a snapshot of 48 products we submitted in US FDA. Oncology is still the largest centered area. And among these 48 applications, 6 got priority review, 35 approved so far. This is our experience handle FDA and NMPA on-site inspections. So far, we passed all the inspections. We also handle US and NMPA due submissions, both from IND and NDA. I think that gives you pretty much a detailed snapshot for the things we have done. And hopefully those information can help you understand better for what's going on concurrently in China. And hopefully China's largest patient population can help you to achieve your global goals, in particular, help you enter into China market. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chang. You impressed me a lot, and above all by managing. When I saw all your slides, I was already a bit nervous, but impressive. So thank you to Dr. Chang and Dr. Shu. So we got a few questions, and that seems to be from a real expert, because one of them, but I think you kind of touched upon this, Dr. Chang. Is it for Chinese companies of interest to do clinical trials in Europe, or do you helping them, or is there interest to find partners in Europe?
The answer is very simple. Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
because what happened is that more Chinese companies is open their eye, try to go to international market, in particular EU market. Right now, the competition in China is so fierce, so everybody want to go to international markets. Because of such a requirement, such a demand, they have to plan trials in EU, both in Western Europe and possibly Eastern Europe also. As a matter of fact, our operation in Armenia also accept the request from mainland China for going Europe.
All right. So that, as you said, you're willing to share the information with interested participants. As I said, we're going to share contact details then with all participants of this webinar. There is one more question. I'm not sure if you or Dr. Shu can answer it, but I just pop it in there. There was a question, are there some regulation when it comes to exporting human samples? And is there a difference, tissue, blood products? Do you know if you need to export them either to Europe, or if out of any reason, if somebody wants to do the tests here and wants to send them from Europe to China? Do you have any idea? I just thought I asked it.
Yes, as I know, it's quite difficult because our company has a subsidiary company in the US, and between our two subsidiary companies, we need to transfer some cell samples. It's difficult. We need to have we have third party and third party companies. They can handle the regulation, some regulation to file to handle with the regulation agency, and it takes time, and also need to pay some money to third party companies and to handle this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. So yes, as always, you need experts, right, for those things to deal with logistics, approval, documents.
Yeah, right.
Right. As a matter of fact, my company has a designated team right in Beijing to help our clients applying such approval and speed up the review process.
Okay.
Perfect. So the colleague, the participant who asked the questions, he will be even more eager to get your contact details. So is there one thing, because even from the CVs of both of you, we see there's a lot of experience studying and working in the US, right? So do you see, when you work with European partners in your fields, do you see there a difference? Might it be, obviously one thing is the regulation, the approval, but as well from how they approach it? Do you get a lot of contact and requests from European companies?
We handle a lot of European clients, in particular for filing the IND in China, conducting trials in China, both for the product entering to China market and also for MRCT global trials.
Okay.
By and large, there's no huge differences, primarily because EU as a whole and USA and China, they're all part of ICH. So normally, as long as we use the same ICH standard, many application materials are standardized already. Of course, language are different, but in terms of the module type, in terms of contents, and by and large are similar. So because of that, that's a speed up our communication and review process. But for sometimes our European clients tend to be a little bit more cautious because there's more education, more communication are needed. So.
And at one point as well, travel must be possible again, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of documentation in your industry and tests and trials, but at one point you probably need to meet as well your business partners and talk with them face to face, right?
Absolutely. We did that. As a matter of fact, one time our team of 8 people spent 2 weeks in a EU client headquarters, straight out, get all the information collected immediately. So.
Okay. So then we keep fingers crossed that quarantine will be eased in China so that travel will be a bit more efficient, put it this way, in both directions, right?
Right.
So we have 1 or 2 more questions, but they are very technical. And again, the question we get most is, could we talk with the 3 experts personally? So yes, we share the contact details because I think with such very technical questions, discussions, you don't need somebody like us in between. So yes, to all the participants who are still online, you will get the information. As we said, you get a recording and you get some information from the presentations and the contact details. And then please get in touch with our 3 experts, the 2 of them who are still here. So at the moment, I want to say once again, thanks to Dr. Chang and Dr. Shu for taking the time to be with us today. It was a great pleasure. And you gave us great insights into the, I would say, a very demanding market with a lot of potential. And we hope that our input will help to bring more European and Chinese partners together.
It's our pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day in Austria and a good afternoon, end of the workday here in China. I guess most of us will be running to the next compulsory PCR test, I guess. That's the next on our...
Absolutely.
Here, right?
Right.
Okay. Thank you so much. Vielen herzlichen Dank für Ihre Teilnahme. Und wie gesagt, die Fragen beantworten wir. Sie bekommen die Kontaktdetails. Und wenn Sie noch andere Fragen haben zum Thema Medizintechnik, Life Science, Pharmaceutical, bitte immer unser Büro kontaktieren. Sie haben unsere Kontaktdaten hier. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.